When this movie came out, it was part of a wave of movies that changed the game for on-screen violence and brutality, and even just what horror movies were for like 10 years, for the whole 2000 aughts. But when it gets talked about, and even at the time when it got talked about, I remember getting in so many arguments about this movie with friends and people I liked talking about movies with and had very similar movie tastes with. No one could quite agree on both this movie, its inspirations, and its ending. But I truly, truly love it. And think it's very interesting, and think it's a lot smarter than people tend to give it credit for when they kind of ding it for what they see as an illogical ending. I'm Adam Caesar. I write books and I talk about horror movies on the internet. Please give me a follow if you want to see more videos like this. This is Alexandre Aja's High Tension, or Haute Tension, or Switchblade Romance, as it was released in the UK. Two girls going to visit one of their parents in the countryside, one of their families in the French countryside, a lot of cornfields. Probably why I like it. It quickly becomes kind of a home invasion movie where we have this guy who'd been casing out the house, just comes in and just destroys everyone in the farmhouse, dog and kid included. And our protagonist, Marie, played by Cécile de France, has to try to save her friend when she is taken captive by this crazed slasher killer serial murderer. And it's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it, and I don't usually do spoiler reviews, so here we go. This is your time to stop watching the video. If you have not seen High Tension, it's 21 years old now. You should go see it. It's really great. But the big twist is that Cécile de France's character is actually the killer the whole time. She has taken Alex, her friend, captive and tied her up, and keeps kind of switching back and forth between being the killer and being Marie, trying to save her friend. And I just remember the baseline criticism of this movie when that happened was, oh, it's so unrealistic, or there's so many logic problems, like how could she be chasing herself? But I think that the movie is kind of pre-aware that's going to be a criticism. And if you rewatch it, it's like the first thing Cécile de France's character says is that she'd woken from a dream in which she was chasing herself. It's kind of right there. It's pretty on the nose. And there's dream logic and there's dream imagery woven through the whole movie. So I think the fact that the movie has this reputation and presents itself in this gritty, realistic, down and dirty fashion, which was pretty different than movies at the time. I mean, movies became that after this, and movies were just starting to have that kind of everyone sweaty and grimy look. The same year was the Texas Chainsaw remake, in which everyone is sweaty and grimy, but also still sexy all the time. And this is a slightly different look and a slightly different texture to it. I think Aja's films and the new French Extremity that came after them are not quite as glamorized in their grit. People kind of discount all the demarcations and indications of we're working in a non-realistic cinematic language here. They kind of discount all that stuff because of the just texture of the rest of the movie. So I think the movie is beautiful and well thought out, and I think that criticism doesn't really work. And then there is this criticism that always pops up when you talk about this movie online. Like, I literally just tweeted about it the other day, and someone just like zinged in there with this, that it's a ripoff of Dean Koontz's Intensity. But I think that argument falls down when you watch the movie and rewatch the movie, and you realize that just because this movie isn't, say, Hatchet, which is Adam Green's attempt to kind of make a loving homage to the slasher movie, and every character is named after like a director or a slasher character, things like that. Just because this movie isn't full in your face with the fact that it is referential and reverential doesn't mean that it's not. I think when you watch it back with the idea that, wait a second, I think this is a love letter to American pulp and American slashers, you begin to see, oh, well, it's also Psycho, and it's also Friday the 13th, and it's all these different things mixed together, and I think that's very deliberate on Aja's part. This is a movie that is a very American movie for an incredibly French movie. I think he's referencing Stephen King. I think he's referencing Kuntz. I think he's referencing Robert Bloch. I think this is a movie about these kind of somewhat simple pulp horror and crime stories. And I don't think that the idea that some of the setup or plot can be traced back to any one source is any kind of mark against the movie for me. If anything, that makes it better, because I think you're seeing all of Aja's interests and fascinations play out in real time to make something new. And I think this is where I think something like this I like a lot more than, say, a Hatchet or any of these other movies that came after this that were this idea of like, we got to get back to our roots. We got to become a down and dirty 80s or 70s slasher. Those movies talked that game and said that like they were doing that, but then yet they couldn't get away from winking at the camera. They couldn't get away from making the characters completely unlikable, which is a very modern idea in a slasher. This is a movie that feels like it could have been made right in the wake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that. Mean and lean and moves and has rock music in it, and there's a chase with a Muse song over it. And it's just great. I think it's well acted. I think it's well directed. And I think it really deserves this beautiful 4K UHD that Second Sight Films put out. Movie looks amazing. The special features are great on here. They talk to Aja. They talk to the co-writer. They talk to the cinematographer. There's a lot of new material in here. And there's a great little soft cover book with new writing on the film. They talked about the film's deeper thematics, which I think are again, it doesn't get enough credit for. I think this is a movie about sometimes we are our own worst impulses and sometimes we are our own worst enemy. And there's a self-sabotaging monster in all of us. It may not be, knocking the heads off the girl you like, her dad. But there is that self-sabotage that lives in all of us. And I think this is a movie that is so unpretentious and elegant in delivering those kinds of themes and ideas, all while splattering them in a whole lot of blood. I just love it. It's a great movie, great kills, and you can feel free to argue with me in the comments, but I know I'm right.